widely used horse-drawn chariots. The chariot race prescribed in the Vajpaya sacrifice of the later Vedic texts was a Greek practice. The pit swelling can also be associated with the Aryan culture. The use of birchwood seems to be an Aryan feature along with underground horses. Like the use of the horse, cremation developed as an Aryan trait. The fire cult is considered to be a special trait of both the Indo-Aryans and Indo-Iranians. The fire altar or Vedi is mentioned in the Rig Veda. Animal sacrifice may have prevailed among many tribal peoples, but the horse sacrifice was typical of the Indo-Europeans, particularly of the Vedic people. Two hymns are devoted to the horse sacrifice in the 10th book of the Rig Veda. The later Vedic texts transform the sacrifice into Ashwamedha. The Sindhu, identical with the Indus, is the river par excellence of the Aryans, and it is repeatedly mentioned. Another river, Saraswati, is called Nadatana, or the best of the rivers in the Rig Veda. The whole region in which the Aryans first settled in Indian subcontinent is called the land of the seven rivers. The Aryans migrated to India in several waves. The earliest wave is represented by the Rig Vedic people, who appeared in the subcontinent in about 1500 BC. Tribal conflicts. Aryans succeeded everywhere because they possessed chariots driven by horses and introduced them for the first time into West Asia and India. The Aryan soldiers were equipped with coats of mail and better arms. The Aryans were engaged in two types of conflicts. First, they fought with pre-Aryans, and secondly, they fought among themselves. To tradition, Aryans were divided into 5 tribes called Panchona. The Bharats and the Trastu were the ruling clans. The country Bharatvarsha was eventually named after the tribe Bharat, which appears first in the Rig Veda. Tribal polity. The administrative machinery of the Aryans in the Rig Vedic period worked with the tribal chief in the center. He was called Rajan. There are traces of election of the king by the tribal assembly called the Samiti. Several tribal or the clan-based assemblies such as Sabha, Samiti, Vidatha, Gana are mentioned in the Rig Veda. Women also attended the Sabha and Vidatha in Rig Vedic times. In the day-to-day administration, the king was assisted by a few functionaries. Purahita, 2 important priests were Vasishtha and Vishvamitra. Vishvamitra composed the Gayatri mantra to widen the Aryan world. Senana soldiers. There was no officer concerned with the collection of taxes. Chiefs received voluntary offerings from the people called Bali. There was no civil system or territorial administration. Tribe and family. Kingship was the basis of social structure, and a man was identified by the clan to which he belonged. People gave their primary loyalty to the tribe, which was called Jana. It was the patriarchal family headed by the father. In the Rig Veda, no desire is expressed for the daughters, though the desire for children and cattle is a recurrent theme in the hymns. The institution of marriage was established, although symbols of primitive practices survived. There is mention of practice of levirate and widow remarriage in the Rig Veda. There are no examples of child marriage, and the marriageable age in the Rig Veda seems to have been 16 to 17. Social divisions. Varna was the term used for color, and it seems that the Aryan language speakers were fair and the indigenous inhabitants dark in complexion. The Dasis and Dasyas, who were conquered by the Aryans, were treated as slaves and Shudras. Gradually tribal society was divided into 3 groups: warriors, priests and the people. The 4th division, called the Shudras, appeared towards the end of the Rig Vedic period. There is mention of slaves who were given as gifts to the priests. They were mainly women slaves employed for domestic purposes. Rig Vedic gods. The Aryans found it difficult to explain the advent of rains, the appearance of the sun and the moon, and the existence of rivers, etc. So they personified these natural forces and looked upon them as gods. The most important divinity is Indra, Agni god, summer god of plants, and an intoxicating drink named after him, Maruts, personify the storm. There were some female divinities such as Aditi and Ushas who represented the appearance of dawn. Rig Vedic people worshipped God to ask mainly for praja, pashu, food, wealth, health, etc. Later Vedic age. The history of the later Vedic period is based mainly on the Vedic texts which were compiled after the age of the Rig Veda. The collection of the Vedic hymns or mantras were known as the Samhitas. The Rig Veda Samhita is the oldest Vedic text on the basis of which we have described the early Vedic age. For purposes of recitation, the prayers of the Rig Veda were said to tune, and this modified collection was known as Samaveda Samhita. There were 2 more collections, the Yajur Veda Samhita and the Atharva Veda Samhita. Yajur Veda. It contains not only hymns but also rituals which have to accompany their recitation. The rituals reflect the social and political milieu in which they arose. Atharva Veda. It contains charms and spells to ward off evils and diseases. Its contents throw light on the beliefs and practices of the non-Aryans. The Vedic Samhitas were followed by the composition of a series of texts known as the Brahmanas. These are full of ritualistic formulae and explain the social and religious meaning of rituals. Famous, Shatapatha Brahmana speaks at length about the ploughing rituals, Aitreya Brahmana, etc. Towards the end of the Vedic period began a strong reaction against priestly domination, against cults and rituals. Then the Upanishads were compiled. These texts criticized the rituals and laid stress on the value of right belief and knowledge. Brahma emerged as the supreme entity. Oldest Upanishads are Bradharanyaka and Chandogya. Latest Upanishad is Muktika Upanishad. There are 108 Upanishads, of which 11 are predominant and called Mukhi Upanishads. Famous ones are Kathopanishad. The central story is immortality and covers the story of encounter of Nakiketa, son of sage Vajrasvasa, with Yama, god of death. Muktika, it deals with Paravidya and Aparavidya. Mundaka, it is notable as the source of the phrase Satyameva Jayate. Mandukya, it is the shortest Upanishad. Prasna, this Upanishad is in question-answer format. Brahman come to sage Pippalada and requests him to clarify their spiritual doubts. Keywords. Question 1. Q. The river most mentioned in early Vedic literature is 1996. At Sindhu B. Suchidri C. Saraswati D. Ganga. Answer. A. Question 2. Q. The term, Aryan, denotes 1999. An ethnic group B. A. Nomadic people C. A. Speech groups D. A. Superior race. Answer. C. Question 3. Q. Which one of the following 4 Vedas contains an account of magical charms and spells? 2004. At Rig Veda B. Yajur Veda C. Atharva Veda D. Sama Veda. Answer. C. Question 4. Q. The religion of early Vedic Aryans was primarily of 2012. At Bhakti. B. Image worship and yajnas. C. Worship of nature and yajnas. D. Worship of nature and Bhakti. Answer. C. Question 5. Q. With reference to the difference between the culture of Rig Vedic Aryans and Indus Valley people, which of the following statements is correct? 2017. 1. Vedic Aryans used the coat of mail and helmet in warfare, whereas the people of Indus Valley Civilization did not leave any evidence of using them. 2. Vedic Aryans knew gold, silver and copper, whereas Indus Valley people knew only copper and iron. 3. Vedic Aryans had domesticated the horse, whereas there is no evidence of Indus Valley people having been aware of this animal. Select the correct answer using the code given below. But 1 only. B. 2 and 3 only. C. 1 and 3 only. D. 1, 2 and 3 answer C. Question 6. Q. The Dharma and Rita depict the central idea of ancient Vedic civilization of India. In this context, consider the following statements. 2011. 1. Dharma was a conception of obligations and of the discharge of one's duties to oneself and to others. 2. Rita was the fundamental moral law governing the functioning of the universe and all it contained. Which of the statements given above is correct? But 1 only. B. 2 only. C. Both 1 and 2. D. Neither 1 nor 2 answer C. Question 7. Q. The famous dialogue between Nakiketa and Yama is mentioned in the 1997. Chandogya Upanishad. B. Mundaka Upanishad. C. Kathopanishad. D. Kenopanishad answer C. Question 8. Q. Who among the following was a Brahmavadini who composed some hymns of the Vedas? 1995. Lopamudra. B. Gargi. C. Lilavati. D. Savitri answer A. Explanation. Brahmavadini, or an expounder of the Veda, are those women who composed any hymns of the Vedas. Brahmavadini literally means the woman who speaks about Brahman. In the ancient days, women were divided into two classes. The Brahmavadinis. The Brahmavadinis underwent the sacrament of Upnayana, kept the Vedic fires, studied the Vedas under their own father and lived by begging the food, also under the parental roof. The prominent among them were Lopamudra, Vishwavara, Sikta, Ghosha and Maitreyi. Maitreyi. Maitreyi, the wife of Yajnavalkya, is accredited with about 10 hymns in Rig Veda. Lopamudra. Lopamudra was the wife of the sage Agastya. A hymn in the Rig Veda is attributed to her. The Sadyavadas. Sadyavadas were those who became vadus or brides straight away, sadhus equals at once on the attainment of puberty, without undergoing the training in the Vedic studies. In their case, the Upnayana ceremony was performed just before marriage, as a formality. Pre-Mauryan and Mauryan age. Pre-Mauryan age. Background. From the 6th century B.C. onwards, the widespread use of iron in eastern Uttar Pradesh and western Bihar created conditions for the formation of large territorial states. Because of iron weapons, the warrior class now played an important part. The Mahajanapadas. In the age of the Buddha we find 16 large states called Mahajanapadas. In the beginning, Kashi appears to be the most powerful of the states, but eventually it had to submit to the power of Koshala. The political history of India from the 6th century B.C. onwards is the history of struggles between these states for supremacy. Ultimately the kingdom of Magadha emerged to be the most powerful and succeeded in founding an empire. Magadha came into the prominence under the leadership of Bimbisara, who belonged to the Hayanka dynasty. He was a contemporary of Buddha. He started the policy of conquest and aggression which ended with the Kalinga War of Ashoka. He also strengthened his position by marriage alliances. His first wife was daughter of the king of Koshala and the sister of Prasenjit. His second wife was a Likhavi princess from Vaishali who gave birth to Ajatashatru. His third wife was the daughter of the chief of the Madra clan of Punjab. The earliest capital of Magadha was Rajgir Girivraja. It was surrounded by 5 hills, the openings were closed by stone walls on all sides. This made Rajgir impregnable. Bimbisara was succeeded by his son Ajatashatru and he was succeeded by Udayan. Udayan was succeeded by the dynasty of Shashunagas. Shashunaga dynasty temporarily shifted the capital to Vaishali. The greatest achievement was the destruction of power of Avanti with its capital at Ujjain. This brought to an end the rivalry between Magadha and Avanti. The Shashunagas were succeeded by the Nanda dynasty, who proved to be the most powerful rulers of Magadha. So great was their power that Alexander, who invaded Punjab at that time, did not dare to move east. Mahapadmananda was the founder of the Nanda dynasty. He claimed to be the Ekarat, the sole sovereign who destroyed all the other ruling princes. The later Nandas turned out to be weak and unpopular and their rule ended after Mauryan dynasty took over. Question 1. Q. Who among the following was not a contemporary of the other 3? 2005. Bimbisara. B. Gautam Buddha. C. Milinda. D. Prasenjit answer C. Question 2. Q. Which one of the following was initially the most powerful city-state of India in the 6th century BC? 1999. Ganda. B. Kamboy. C. Kashi. D. Magar answer C. Question 3. Q. The following map shows 4 of the 16 Mahajanapadas that existed in ancient India. Their places marked A, B, C and D respectively at 1997. Matsya, CD, Kasala, Angadi, Surasena, Avanti, Vatsa, Magadha. C. Matsya, Avanti, Vatsa, Angadi, Surasena, CD, Kasala, Magadha. Answer C. Question 4. Q. Which one of the following dynasties was ruling over North India at the time of Alexander's invasion? 2000. Nanda. B. Maurya. C. Sunga. D. Kanvar. Answer A. Mauryan age. Founder Chandragupta Maurya. He liberated northwestern India from the thraldom of Seleucus. Eventually peace was concluded between the two, and in return for elephants Seleucus gave him eastern Afghanistan, Baluchistan and the area west of the Indus. He built a vast empire which included Bihar and good portions of Orissa and Bengal, also western and northwestern India and the Deccan. Chandragupta Maurya was succeeded by Bindusara, whose reign is important for continued links with the Greek princes. His son, Ashoka, is the greatest of the Maurya rulers. Ashoka. He was the first ruler who tried to take his message to the people through inscriptions. Most of Ashoka's inscriptions were in Prakrit and were written in Brahmi script. Ashokan inscriptions. These inscriptions, numbering 39, are classified into major rock edicts, minor rock edicts, major pillar edicts and minor pillar edicts. The name of Ashoka occurs only in copies of minor rock edict I found at 3 places in Karnataka and at 1 in Madhya Pradesh. All the other inscriptions mention only Devanam Pidasi, which means dear to God. The Ashokan inscriptions are found in India, Nepal, Pakistan and Afghanistan. Composed in Prakrit, they were written in Brahmi script in the greater part of the subcontinent, but in its northwestern part. They appeared in Aramaic language and Khroshti script. In Afghanistan, they were written in both Aramaic and Greek scripts and languages. Edicts. Pillar Edict I, Ashoka's principle of protecting his people. Pillar Edict II, Dharma. Pillar Edict III, avoiding practices of cruelty, sin, harshness, pride and anger among his subjects. Pillar Edict IV, responsibilities of the Rajukas. Pillar Edict V, list of animals and birds that should not be killed on certain days. Another list which mentions animals that should never be killed. Pillar Edict V, Dharma policy of the state. Pillar Edict VII, Ashoka's work for fulfilling Dharma, tolerance for all sects. Major Rock Edict I, prohibits animal slaughter and bans festive gathering. Major Rock Edict II, care for man and animals, mentions the Pandyas, Satyapuras and Keralaputras of South India. Major Rock Edict III, generosity to Brahmins, about Yaktas, Prachikas and Rajukas who would go every 5 years to different parts of his empire to spread Dharma. Major Rock Edict IV, Dharmagosha, sound of Dharma, righteousness, over Bharagosha, sound of war. Major Rock Edict V, about the Mahamanatras. Talks about treating slaves right. Major Rock Edict V, king's desire to know about his people's conditions. About welfare measures. Major Rock Edict VII, tolerance for all religions. Major Rock Edict VIII, Ashoka's first visit to Bodh Gaya and the Bodhi tree, his first Dharma Yatra. Major Rock Edict IX, condemns popular ceremonies. Major Rock Edict X, disapproves of the individual's desire for fame and glory and stresses on Dharma. Major Rock Edict XI, elaborates on Dharma. Major Rock Edict XII, tolerance for all religions and sects. Major Rock Edict XIII, mentions victory over Kalinga, mentions Ashoka's Dharma victory over Greek kings, also mentions Pandyas, Cholas, etc. Major Rock Edict XIV, engraving of inscriptions installed in various parts of country. Kalinga War. After his accession to the throne, Ashoka fought only one major war called the Kalinga War. According to him, 100,000 people were killed in this war, several lakhs perished and 150,000 were taken prisoners. He was moved by the massacre in this war. The war brought to the Brahmana priests and the Buddhist monks great suffering, which caused Ashoka much grief in response, so he abandoned the policy of physical occupation in favor of a policy of cultural conquest. In other words, Bharagosha was replaced with Dharmagosha. He took steps for the welfare of men and animals in foreign lands. He sent ambassadors of peace to the Greek kingdoms in West Asia and Greece. Ashoka was converted to Buddhism as a result of the Kalinga War. According to tradition, Third Buddhist Council was held by Ashoka and missionaries were sent to South India, Sri Lanka, Burma and other countries. Ashoka's Dharma. Ashoka established the idea of paternal kingship. He regarded all his subjects as his children and believed it the king's duty to look after the welfare of the subjects. He asked everyone to avoid animal slaughter and sacrifice and expanded humane treatment of animals, servants and prisoners. He advocated tolerance towards all religions. State control. Kings were guided by the laws laid down in the Dharmashastras and by the customs prevalent in the country. Assertion of royal absolutism was a natural culmination of the policy of military conquest adopted by the policy of Magadha. In order to control all spheres of life, the state had to maintain a vast bureaucracy. The administrative mechanism was backed by an elaborate system of espionage. Important functionaries. Minister, Mantran, High Priest, Purohita, Commander-in-Chief, Senapati, and Crown Prince Yuvaraja. Most functionaries were paid in cash. Economic regulations. State appointed 27 superintendents, Adyakshas, mostly to regulate the economic activities of the state. The state also provided irrigation facilities and regulated water supply for the benefit of agriculturalists. Ak. To Arthashastra, a striking social development of the Maurya period was the employment of slaves in agricultural operations. The Shudras were regarded as the collective property of the three higher varnas. They were compelled to serve them as slaves, artisans, agricultural laborers and domestic servants. Art and architecture. Stone pillars which were as shining as northern black polished ware. Each pillar is made of a single piece of buff-colored sandstone. Their capitals, which are beautiful pieces of sculpture in the form lines or bulls, are joined with the pillars on top. The Maurya artisans also started the practice of heaving out caves from rocks for monks to live in. The earliest examples are Barabar caves. Keywords. Dharma Pravartaka, promulgator of social order. Adyaksha superintendents. Samahata highest officer in charge of assessment. Sanyatakif custodian of state treasury. The Mahamanatras people appointed to spread Dharma. Amatis administrative personnel. Dashtamatyas bureaucrats. Rajukas reward or punishment officer. Sangiti Buddhist councils. The Mauryan Empire was finally destroyed by Pushyamitra Shunga in 185 BC. He was general of the last Maurya king called Brihadratha. Shungas ruled in Pataliputra and central India and they performed several Vedic sacrifices in order to mark the revival of the Brahmanical way of life. They were succeeded by the Kanvas who were also Brahmins. Question 5. Q. The name by which Ashoka is generally referred to his inscriptions is 1995. At Chakravarti B. Dharmadeva C. Dharmakoti D. Priyadasi answer, D. Question 6. Q. Which one of the following statements regarding Ashokan stone pillars is incorrect? 1997. But these are highly polished B. These are monolithic. C. The shaft of pillars is tapering in shape D. These are part of architectural structures answer, D. Question 7. Q. Which one of the following edicts mentions the personal name of Ashoka? 1997. At Kalsi. B. Raminde. C. Special Kaling Edict D. Maski. Answer, D. Question 8. Q. Assertion A. According to Ashoka's edict, social harmony among the people was more important than religious devotion. Reason R. He spread ideas of equity instead of promotion of religion. Select the answer using the code given below, 1998. But both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. B. Both A and R are true, but R is not the correct explanation of A. C. A is true but R is false. D. A is false but R is true. Answer, A. Question 9. The given map relates to 1998 at Kanishka at the time of his death. B. Samudragupta after the close of his South Indian campaign. C. Ashoka towards close of his reign. D. Empire of Thanshur on the eve of Harsha's accession. Answer, C. Question 10. Q. The Ashokan major rock edicts which tell us about the Sangam kingdom include rock edicts 1998. A. I and X. B. I and 11. C. 2 and 13. D. 2 and 14. Answer, C. Question 11. Q. Assertion A. Ashoka annexed Kalinga to the Mauryan Empire. Reason R. Kalinga controlled land and sea routes to South India. Select the correct answer using the code given below. 2000. Both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. B. Both A and R are true, and R is not the correct explanation of A. C. A is true but R is false. D. A is false but R is true. Answer A. Question 12. Q. Consider the following statements. 2003. 1. The last Mauryan ruler, Brihadratha, was assassinated by his commander-in-chief, Pushyamitra Singha. 2. The last Singha king, Devabhuti, was assassinated by his Brahmana minister Vasudeva Kanva, who usurped the throne. 3. The last ruler of the Kanva dynasty was deposed by the Andhras. Which of these statements is correct? 1 and 2. B. Only 2. C. Only 3. D. 1, 2 and 3. Answer D. Central Asian contacts. Mauryas were succeeded by a number of native rulers such as Shungas, the Kanvas and the Satavahans. In northwestern India they were succeeded by a number of ruling dynasties from Central Asia. A series of invasions began in about 200 BC. The first across the Hindu Kush were the Greeks, who ruled Bactria. Reasons. One important cause of invasions was the weakness of the Seleucid Empire, which had been established in Bactria and the adjoining areas of Iran called Parthia. With the construction of Chinese wall, the Scythians were now pushed back from Chinese border. So, they turned their attention towards the neighboring Greeks and Parthians. Pushed by the Scythians tribes, the Bactrian Greeks were forced to invade India. Greeks. The first to invade India were the Greeks, who were called the Indo-Greeks or Bactrian Greeks. In the beginning of the 2nd century BC, the Indo-Greeks occupied a large part of northwestern India, much larger than the conquered by Alexander. But the Greeks failed to establish united rule in India. The most famous Indo-Greek ruler was Menander. He is also known by the name Milinda. He had his capital at Sakala in Punjab. He was converted to Buddhism by Nagasena. Questions and Nagasena's answers were recorded in the form of a book known as Milanpanho. Indo-Greeks were the first rulers in India to issue coins which can be definitely attributed to the kings. The Indo-Greeks were the first to issue gold coins in India, which increased in number under the Kushans. The Greek rule introduced features of Hellenistic art in the northwest frontier of India. This art was not purely Greek. It was the outcome of the Greek contact with non-Greek conquered people. Gandhara art was its best example in India. It was influenced by the Mahayana Buddhism. The Shakas. The Greeks were followed by the Shakas, who controlled a much larger part than the Greeks did. There were 5 branches of the Shakas with their seats of power in different parts of India and Afghanistan. One branch of Shakas settled in Afghanistan. Second branch settled in Punjab with Taxila as its capital. The third branch settled in Mathura. Fourth branch established its rule over western India. The fifth branch established its power in the upper Deccan. The Shakas did not meet much effective resistance from the rulers and peoples in India. But, in about 57 to 58 BC, we hear of the king of Ujjain called Vikramaditya who fought against the Shakas. An era called the Vikrama Samvat is reckoned from the event of his victory over the Shakas in 57 BC. The most famous Shaka ruler in India was Rudradaman I. He is famous in history because of the repairs he undertook to improve the Sudarshana lake in the semi-arid zone of Kathiawar. He was a great lover of Sanskrit. Although a foreigner settled in India, he issued the first ever long inscription in chaste Sanskrit. However, all the earlier longer inscriptions that we have in this country were composed in Prakrit. The Parthians. The Shaka domination in northwestern India was followed by that of the Parthians. In fact, both of them ruled over this country on parallel lines for some time. Originally, they lived in Iran from where they moved to India. In comparison with the Greeks and the Shakas, they occupied only a small portion of northwestern India. The most famous Parthian king was Gondophanes, in whose reign St. Thomas is said to have come to India for the propagation of Christianity. The Kushanas. The Parthians were followed by the Kushanas, who are also called the Uchas or Tocharians. The Kushans were one of the 5 clans into which the Uchi tribe was divided. Their empire extended from the Oxus to the Ganga, from Khorasan in Central Asia to Varanasi in UP. There were 2 successive dynasties of the Kushanas. The first dynasty was founded by a house of chiefs who were called Kadphisas. It had 2 kings. The first was Kadphises I, who issued coins south of the Hindu Kush. The second king was Kadphises II, who issued a large number of gold money and spread his kingdom east of the Indus. The house of Kadphises was succeeded by that of Kanishka. Kanishka was the most famous Kushana ruler. He is known to history because of 2 reasons. First, he started an era in AD 78, which is known as the Shaka era and is used by the government of India. Secondly, Kanishka extended his patronage to Buddhism. He held a Buddhist council in Kashmir, where the doctrines of the Mahayana form of Buddhism were finalized. Kanishka was also a great patron of art and Sanskrit literature. The successors of Kanishka continued to rule in northwestern India till about 230 AD. The Kushan Empire in Afghanistan and in the area west of the Indus was supplanted in the mid-3rd century AD by the Sasanian power. Trade and agriculture. Due to advent of the Central Asian people, India received a good deal of gold from the Altai Mountains in Central Asia. The Kushans controlled the Silk Route, which started from China and passed through their empire. This route was a source of great income to the Kushans, and they built a large prosperous empire because of the tolls levied from the traders. The Kushans also promoted agriculture. The earliest archaeological traces of large-scale irrigation in Pakistan, Afghanistan and western Central Asia belong to the Kushan period. Polity. The Central Asian conquerors imposed their rule on numerous petty native princes. This led to the development of a feudatory organization. The Shakas and the Kushans strengthened the idea of the divine origin of the kingship. The Kushans also introduced the satrap system of government. Some curious practices such as hereditary dual rule, 2 kings ruling in the same kingdom at one and the same time, were introduced. The Greeks also introduced the practice of military governorship. They appointed the governors called strategos. Religious developments. Some of the foreign rulers were converted to Vaishnavism, which means worship of Vishnu. The Greek ambassador called Heliodorus set up a pillar in honor of Vasudeva near Vidisha around 2nd century BC. A few other rulers adopted Buddhism. The famous Greek ruler Menander became a Buddhist. The Kushan rulers worshipped both Shiva and the Buddha, and the images of these 2 gods appeared on the Kushan coins. Origin of Mahayana Buddhism. Indian religions underwent changes in post-Maurya times partly due to a big leap in trade and artisanal activity and partly due to large influx of people from Central Asia. For e.g., Buddhists welcomed foreigners who were non-vegetarians. They also accepted gold and silver and wore elaborate robes. Some renunciates resumed the householder's life. This new form of Buddhism came to be called the Mahayana or the Great Wheel. Science and technology. Many Greek terms about the movement of planets in Sanskrit texts. Indian astrology came to be influenced by the Greek ideas. The Greek term drachma came to be known as drama. Question 1. Q. Assertion A. The Gandhara school of art bears the mark of Hellenistic influence. Reason R. Hinayana form was influenced by that art. Select the correct answer using the code given below, 1998. Both A and R is true, and R is the correct explanation of A. B. Both A and R are true, but R is not the correct explanation of A. C. A is true but R is false. D. A is false but R is true. Answer, C. Question 2. Q. The Indo-Greek kingdom set up in North Afghanistan in the beginning of the 2nd century B. C was 1999. Bactria B. Scythia C. Zedrasia D. Arya. Answer, A. Question 3. Q. Milanpanho is in the form of a dialogue between the king Menander and the Buddhist monk 1997. Nagasena B. Nagarjuna C. Nagabhata D. Kumaralabhata. Answer, A. Question 4. Q. Many of the Greeks, Kushans and Shakas embraced Buddhism rather than Hinduism because 1998. Buddhism was in the ascendant at that time. B. They had renounced the policy of war and violence. C. Caste-ridden Hinduism did not attract them. D. Buddhism provided easier access to Indian society. Answer, D. Question 5. Q. The practice of military governorship was first introduced in India by the 2000. Greeks B. Shakas C. Parthians D. Mughals. Answer, question 6. Q. With reference to the invaders in ancient India, which one of the following is the correct chronological order? 2006. Greeks Cuscans B. Greeks Kushansarkas C. Sakas Greeks Kushans D. Sakas Kushans Greeks. Answer, A. Gupta age. Background. After the breakup of the Maurya Empire, Satavahans acted as a stabilizing actor in the Deccan and South, and the Kushans performed the same role in the north. Both these empires came to an end in the middle of the 3rd century AD. On the ruins of the Kushan Empire and a good part of the Satavahans, a new empire came into being, which was the Gupta Empire. Gupta Empire. This empire was not as large as Maurya Empire, but it kept North India politically united for more than a century from AD 335 to 455. Uttar Pradesh seems to have been a more important province for the Guptas. The Guptas were possibly the feudatories of the Kushans in Uttar Pradesh, and to seem to have succeeded them without any time lag. In the Kushan scheme of things, horse chariots and elephants had ceased to be important. Horsemen played the main part. This also was the case with the Guptas. Chandragupta I. He was the first important king of the Gupta dynasty. He seems to have been a ruler of considerable importance because he started the Gupta era in AD 319 to 20, which marked the date of his accession. Samudragupta A. D 335 to 380. He was the strong believer in aggression, violence and conquests. His court poet Harisena wrote a glowing account of the military exploits of his patron. Allahabad inscription enumerates the peoples and countries conquered by Samudragupta. The prestige and influence of Samudragupta spread even outside India. Ac. To a source, Meghavarman, ruler of Sri Lanka, sent a mission to Samudragupta for permission to build a temple at Gaya. This was granted and the temple was developed into a huge monastic establishment. Chandragupta II A. D 380 to 412. The reign of Chandragupta II saw the high watermark of the Gupta Empire. He extended the limits of the empire by marriage alliances and conquests. He married his daughter Prabhavati with a Vakataka prince who belonged to Brahmana caste and ruled in central India. Ujjain seems to have been made the second capital by Chandragupta II. Chandragupta II adopted the title of Vikramaditya. The court of Chandragupta II at Ujjain was adorned by numerous scholars including Kalidas and Amarasimha. The successors of Chandragupta II had to face an invasion by the Hunas from Central Asia in the second half of the 5th century AD. By 485 AD, the Hunas occupied eastern Malwa and a good portion of central India where their inscriptions have been found. The Gupta Empire was further undermined by the rise of the feudatories. The governors appointed by the Gupta kings in North Bengal and their feudatories in southeast Bengal tended to become independent. After the reign of Skandagupta i.e. 467 AD, hardly any Gupta coin or inscription has been found in western Malwa and Saurashtra. Although the rule of the imperial Guptas lingered till the middle of the 6th century AD, the imperial glory had vanished a century earlier. Life in the Gupta age. Administration. Gupta kings adopted titles like Parameshwara Maharaja and Paramavattaraka, which suggest that they ruled over lesser kings in their empire. The throne did not always go to the eldest son. This created uncertainties, of which chiefs and high officials took advantage. In the Gupta times, horse chariots receded, and cavalry came to the forefront. Horse archery became prominent in military tactics. Land taxes increased in number, and those on trade and commerce decreased. In central and western India, the villages were also subjected to forced labor called Vishti for serving the royal army and officials. The judicial system was far more developed under the Guptas. Several law books were compiled in this period. For the first time, civil and criminal laws were clearly demarcated. The Gupta bureaucracy was not as elaborate as that of the Mauryas. The most offices were the Kumaramachis. The Guptas organized a system of provincial and local administration. The major part of the empire was held by feudatory chiefs, many of whom had been subjugated by Samudragupta. The second feudal development that surfaced under the Gupta was the grant of fiscal and administrative concessions to priests and administrators. Religious functionaries were granted land free of tax and they were also authorized to collect taxes. Trade and agriculture. We get idea of the life of the Gupta times from Farhian, who visited different parts of the Gupta Empire. He informs us that Magadha was full of cities and its rich people supported Buddhism and gave charities. Guptas issued the largest number of gold coins, which were called dinaras in their inscriptions. After the conquest of Gujarat, Guptas issued a good number of silver coins called rupaka, mainly for local exchange. The Gupta copper coins are very few, which suggests that the use of money did not touch the common people so much. The striking development of the Gupta period, especially in MP, was the emergence of priestly landlord at the cost of local peasants. Social development. Land grants to the Brahmanas on a large scale suggest that the Brahmana supremacy continued in Gupta times. The Brahmanas accumulated wealth on account of numerous land grants, so they claimed many privileges which are listed in the Narada Smriti, a work of about 5th century AD. The castes proliferated into numerous sub-castes. The position of Shudras improved in this period. They were now permitted to listen to the Ramayana, the Mahabharata and the Puranas. They could also worship a new god called Krishna. But during this period the untouchables increased in number, especially the Chandalas. Fahine has also mentioned them in his account. In the Gupta period, like the Shudras, women were also allowed to listen to the Ramayana, the Mahabharata and the Puranas, and advised to worship Krishna. Women of the two lower Varnas were free to earn their livelihood, gave them considerable freedom, which was denied to women of the upper Varnas. In Gupta's patriarchal setup, women were treated as items of property, so much so that a woman was expected to follow her husband to the next world. The first example of the immolation of widow after the death of her husband appears in the Gupta times in AD 510. Kajayana, a lawgiver of the 6th century, holds that women could sell and mortgage her immovable property along with Stridhana. This clearly implies that women received shares in landed property, but generally a daughter was not allowed to inherit landed property in the patriarchal communities of India. Religion. Buddhism no longer received royal patronage in the Gupta period. However, some stupas and viharas were constructed, and Nalanda became a center of Buddhist education. Origin of Bhagavatism. Bhagavatism centered around the worship of Vishnu or Bhagavat and originated in post-Maurya times. He represented the sun and also the fertility cult. He was considered as a minor god in Vedic times. Idol worship became a common feature of Hinduism from the Gupta period onwards. Many festivals also came to be celebrated. The Gupta kings followed a policy of tolerance towards the different religious sects. There is no example of persecution of the followers of Buddhism and Jainism. Art. Both Samudragupta and Chandragupta II were patrons of art and literature. Samudragupta is represented on his coins Penga, Veena, and Chandragupta II is credited with maintaining in his court 9 luminaries or great scholars. In the Gupta period, we find an over 2 meters high bronze image of the Buddha, which was recovered from Sultanganj near Bhagalpur. Fahine saw an over 25 meters high image of Buddha, but it is not traceable now. Greatest specimen of Buddhist art in Gupta times is provided by the Ajanta paintings. We also get the images of Vishnu, Shiva and some other Hindu gods in the Gupta period. Literature. The Gupta period is remarkable for the production of the secular literature. To this period belong 13 plays written by Basa. Marichakatika, Little Clay Cart, written by Shadraka, deals with the love affair of a Poo Brahmana with the beautiful daughter of a courtesan. Kalidasa. He was a classical Sanskrit writer, extensively considered as the greatest poet and dramatist of Gupta period. The 6 major works of Kalidasa are Bhajana Shakuntalam, love story of Dashanta and Shakuntala, Vikramorvashi. Malavakagnamitra, love story of Sunga king and Agnamitra and Malvika maidservant. The epic poems Rahavamsha. Kumarasambhava. Meghaduta. Vishakadatta. The famous plays of Vishakadatta are Madharakshasa. It recites the ascent of Chandragupta Maurya to throne. Vatsyayana. He was the author of Nyaya Sutra Bashir and Kama Sutra. The Nyaya Sutra Bashir is regarded as the first commentary on Gautama's Nyaya Sutras. 2 things can be noted about the plays of Gupta period, these are all comedies. Secondly, characters of the higher and lower classes do not speak same language. Women and Shudras featuring in these plays use Prakrit while the higher classes use Sanskrit. 2 great epics, namely the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, were almost completed by the 4th century AD. The Gupta period also saw the development of Sanskrit grammar based on Panini and Patanjali. Amarkosha compiled by Marasimha, who was a luminary in the court of Chandragupta II. Question 1. Q. The silver coins issued by the Guptas were called 1997. Rupaka B. Kashpana C. Dinara. D. Pana answer. Question 1. Q. Which one of the following ports handled the North Indian trade during the Gupta period? 1999. Tamiliv D. B. Roach. C. Kalyan D. Cambay answer. Question 3. Q. Assertion A. The origin of feudal system in ancient India can be traced to military campaigns. Reason R. There was considerable expansion of the feudal system during the Gupta period. Select the correct answer using the code given below. 2000. Both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. B. Both A and R are true, but R is not the correct explanation of A. C. A is true but R is false. D. A is false but R is true. Answer D. Question 4. Q. The Allahabad pillar inscription is associated with which one of the following? 2006. Mahapadmananda B. Chandragupta Maurya C. Ashoka. D. Samudragupta answer D. Question 5. Q. Why did Buddhism start declining in India in the early medieval times? 2010. 1. Buddha was by that time considered as one of the incarnations of Vishnu and thus became a part of Vaishnavism. 2. The invading tribes from Central Asia till the time of last Gupta king adopted Hinduism and persecuted Buddhists. 3. The kings of Gupta dynasty were strongly opposed to Buddhism. Which of the statements given above is correct? 1 only. B. 1 and 3 only. C. 2 and 3 only. D. 1, 2 and 3 answer. Question 6. Q. In Sanskrit plays written during the Gupta period, women and Shudras speak 1995. Sanskrit B. Prakrit C. Pali. D. Sarasani answer. B. Question 7. Q. The ancient Indian play Madharakshasa of Vishakadatta has its subject on 2002. A conflict between gods and demons of ancient Hindu lore. B. A romantic story of an Aryan prince and a tribal woman. C. The story of the power struggle between 2 Aryan tribes. D. The court intrigues of the time of Chandragupta Maurya answer. D. Question 8. Q. Marichakatika, an ancient Indian book written by Shadraka, deals with 2003. The love affair of a rich merchant with the daughter of a courtesan. B. The victory of Chandragupta II over the Shaka Kshatrapas of Western India. C. The military expeditions and exploits of Samudragupta. D. The love affair between a Gupta king and a princess of Kamarupa answer. Question 9. Q. Which one of the following books of ancient India has the love story of the son of the founder of the Singha dynasty? 2016. Swapnavasavadata. B. Malavakagnamitra. C. Meghaduta. D. Ratnaveli. Answer B. Question 10. Q. Who among the following is known for his work on medicine during the Gupta period? 1996. Saumila B. Sadraka. C. Shaunaka. D. Sisrutha answer D. Question 11. Q. Which one of the following pairs is correctly matched? 2001. Harappan civilization, painted grey ware. B. The Kushans, Gandhara school of art. C. The Mughals, Ajanta paintings. D. The Marathas, Pahari school of painting. Science and civilization. Science and mathematics. Astronomy. It made great progress in the country because the planets came to be regarded as gods, and their movements began to be closely observed. Their study became essential on account of their connections with changes in seasons and weather conditions which were important for agricultural activities. By the 3rd century B.C. mathematics, astronomy and medicine began to develop separately. In the field of mathematics, the ancient Indians made 3 distinct contributions: the notation system, the decimal system, and the use of zero. Decimal system. The earliest epigraphic evidence for the use of the decimal system is in the beginning of the 5th century AD. The Indian were the first to use the decimal system. The famous mathematician Aryabhata A.D. 476 to 500 was acquainted with it. The Chinese learned this system from the Buddhist missionaries, and the Western world borrowed it from the Arabs when they came in contact with India. Zero was discovered by the Indians in about the 2nd century BC. Aryabhata formulated the rule for finding the area of a triangle, which led to the origin of trigonometry. The Indian notational system. The Indian notational system was adopted by the Arabs, who spread it in the Western world. The Indian numerals are called Arabic in English, but the Arabs themselves called their numerals Hinsa. They are found in the inscriptions of Ashoka, which were written in 3rd century BC. The most renowned scholars of astronomy were Aryabhata and Varamihira. Aryabhata. He belonged to the 5th century. He calculated the position of the planets according to the Babylonian method. He discovered the cause of lunar and solar eclipses. The circumference of the Earth, which he measured on the basis of speculation, is considered to be correct even now. He pointed out that the sun is stationary, and the Earth rotates. The book of Aryabhata is called the Aryabhatiya. Varahmihira. He belonged to the 6th century. His well-known work is called the Brihasamhita. He stated that the moon rotates around the Earth and the Earth rotates around the sun. He utilized several Greek works to explain the movement of the planets and some other astronomical problems. Baudhayana around 800 BCE. He was an Indian mathematician. He is noted as author of the earliest Salbasutra appendices to the Vedas, giving rules for the construction of all tasks called the Bauda and Salbasutra. The value of pi was first calculated by him. What is known as Pythagoras' theorem today is already found in Bauda and Salva Sutra. Brahmagupta 598-668 CE. He was an Indian mathematician and astronomer. He is the author of 2 early works, Brahmasutrasiddhanta and the Khandakadaka. He gave the solution of general linear equation and the quadratic equation. Brahmasutrasiddhanta is the earliest known text to treat zero as number in its own right, rather than simply a placeholder digit. His most famous result in geometry is his formula for cyclic quadrilaterals. His important contribution in astronomy are his methods for calculating the position of heavenly bodies, and the calculation of solar and lunar eclipses. Bhaskaracharya. He was an Indian mathematician and astronomer who extended Brahmagupta's work on number systems. His renowned mathematical works called Lilavati and Bijagannita. In his treatise Siddhant Shiromani, he writes on planetary positions, eclipses, cosmography, mathematical techniques and astronomical equipment. In the Surya Siddhant, he makes a note on the force of gravity. Medicine. The ancient Indian physicians studied anatomy. The earliest mention of medicines is in the Atharva Veda. In the 2nd century AD, India produced 2 famous scholars of the Ayurveda, Susruta and Charaka. Sushruta. He is described as the father of surgery and father of plastic surgery. In the Sushruta Samhita, Sushruta describes the method of operating cataract, stone disease and several other ailments. He mentions as many as 121 implements to be used for operations. Charaka. Charaka, 3rd century BC, was one of the principal contributors to Ayurveda, a system of medicine and lifestyle developed in ancient India. He is known for authoring the medical treatise, the Charaka Samhita. He is well known as the Indian father of medicine. Charaka Samhita is like an encyclopedia of Indian medicine. Charaka is generally considered as the first physician to present the concept of digestion, metabolism, and immunity. In subsequent centuries, Indian medicine developed on the lines laid down by Charaka. Others. Indian dyers invented lasting colors, and they also discovered the blue color. Indian smiths were the first in the world to manufacture steel. Question 1. Q. Zero was invented by 1995. Aryabhata B. Varahmihira C. Bhaskara I. D. An unknown Indian answer, D. Question 2. Q. Match list I with list 2 and select the correct answer using the code given below, 1996. List 1. A. Vishakadatta 1, Medicine B. Varahmihira 2, Drama C. Charaka 3, Astronomy D. Brahmagupta 4, Mathematics A B C D. 1 3 4 2 B 2 1 3 4 C 2 3 1 4 D 3 4 1 2 answer, C. Question 3. Q. With reference to the scientific progress of ancient India, which of the statements given below are correct? 2012. 1. Different kinds of specialized surgical instruments were in common use by the 1st century AD. 2. Transplant of internal organs in the human body had begun by the beginning of the 3rd century AD. 3. The concept of sine of an angle was known in 5th century AD. 4. The concept of cyclic quadrilaterals was known in 7th century AD. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. 1 and 2 only B, 3 and 4 only C, 1, 3 and 4 only D, 1, 2, 3 and 4 answer, C. Question 4. Q. Who among the following anticipated Newton by declaring that all things gravitate to the Earth? 1995. Aryabhata B. Varahmihira C. Bhaskara D. Brahmagupta answer, D. Question 5. Q. Match list I with list 2 and select the correct answer using the code given below. 2006 list 8 finding, invention, calculation, list 2, ancient Indian scholar, a time taken by the Earth to orbit the Sun 1. Aryabhata B. Calculation of value of pi 2. Bhaskaracharya C. Invention of Therjit 03. Balayana D. The game of snakes and ladders 4. Gyandev A B C D. 2 4 1 3 B 1 3 2 4 C 2 3 1 4 D 1 4 2 3 answer, C. Different dynasties. Harshvardhana. Origin. Guptas with their seats of power in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar until the middle of the 6th century AD. Then North India again split up into several kingdoms. The Hunas established their supremacy over Kashmir, Punjab and Western India. North and Western India passed under the control of about half a dozen feudatories. One of these dynasties ruling at Thanessa in Haryana extended his authority over all the other feudatories. The ruler who brought it about was Harshavardhana A. D 606 to 647. Harsha made Kannauj the seat of his power from where he extended his authority in all directions. Sources. The early history of Harsha's reign is reconstructed from a study of Banabhatta, who was his court poet who wrote a book called Harshacharita. This can be supplemented by the account of the Chinese pilgrim Hian Sang, who visited India in the 7th century AD and stayed in the country for about 15 years. Region. His authority was limited to North India excluding Kashmir, Rajasthan, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and Orissa were under his control. Resistance. He faced opposition from the Shaivite king Shashankar of Gorda, who cut off the Bodhi tree at Bodh Gaya. Harsha's southward march was stopped on the Narmada River by the Chalukyan king Pulakshan II. Except this, Harsha did not face any serious opposition and succeeded in giving a political unity to a large part of the country. Administration. Harsha's empire was more feudal and decentralized comparative to Gupta's. Harsha's army was very vast as he could mobilize the support of all his feudatories at the time of war. Land grants continued to be made to priests for special services rendered to the state. Hian Sang informs us that revenues of Harsha were divided into 4 parts. 1 part was earmarked for the expenditure of the king, a second for scholars, a third for the endowment of officials and public servants and a fourth for religious purposes. We do not find too many coins issued by Harsha awarding and paying officers with grants of land started. Buddhism. The most famous center of Buddhism was Nalanda, which maintained a great Buddhist university meant for Buddhist monks. Mahayana philosophy of Buddhism was taught. Harsha followed a tolerant religious policy. A Shaiva in his early years, he gradually became a great patron of Buddhism. As a devout of Buddhism, he convened a grand assembly at Kannauj to widely publicize the doctrines of Mahayana. The assembly was attended by Hian Sang and the Kamarupa ruler Bhaskaravarman and the kings of 20 countries and several thousand priests. At the end, Harsha made huge charities, and he gave away everything except his personal clothing. Harsha is also remembered for the authorship of 3 dramas, Priyadarshika, Ratnavali and Nagananda. Question 1. Q. Assertion A. Harshavardhana convened the Prayag assembly. Reason R. He wanted to popularize only the Mahayana form of Buddhism. Select the correct answer using the codes given below, 2001. Both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. B. Both A and R are true, but R is not the correct explanation of A. C. A is true but R is false. D. A is false but R is true. Answer, B. Question 2. Q. Emperor Harsha's southward march was stopped on the Narmada River by 2003. Pulakshin I. B. Pulakshin 2. C. Vikramaditya I. D. Vikramaditya the second. Answer, B. Question 3. Q. Match list I with list 2 and select the correct answer using the code given below, 1997, list 1 list 2. A. Gupta 1, Badami B. Chandala 2, Panamalai C. Chalukya 3, Khajuraho D. Pallava 4, Deoghar A. B. C. D. At 4, 3, 1, 2 B, 4, 2, 3, 1 C, 2, 3, 4, 1 D, 3, 4, 1, 2 Answer. Explanation. Chalukya dynasty. Region. Ruled large parts of southern and central India between the 6th and the 12th centuries. Capital. Badami. The Chalukyas ruled over the Deccan Plateau in India for over 600 years as 3 closely related, but individual dynasties. Chalukyas of Badami, also called early Chalukyas, established by Pulakshin I. Pulakshin II was the most famous ruler of this dynasty. Chalukyas of Kalyani, also called Western Chalukyas, and Chalukyas of Vengi, also called Eastern Chalukyas. The last Chalukya ruler, Kotavarman II, was overthrown by the Rashtrakuta king, Dantidurga. Chandela dynasty. Region. Royal dynasty of central India ruled much of the Bundelkhand region between 9th and 13th centuries. Capital. Khajuraho. The Chandelas initially ruled as feudatories of the Gurjara Pratiharas of Kanyakubja, Kannauj. Their power rose and declined as they fought battles with the neighboring dynasties, especially the Paramaras of Malwa and the Kalakaras of Tripuri. From the 11th century onwards, the Chandelas faced raids by the northern Muslim dynasties, including the Ghaznavids and the Ghurids. The Chandela power effectively ended around the beginning of the 13th century, following Chaymana and Ghurid invasions. Pallava dynasty. Region. It ruled a portion of southern India from 275 CE to 897 CE. They gained prominence after the eclipse of the Satavahana dynasty, whom the Pallavas served as feudatories. Capital. Kanchipuram. Pallavas became a major power during the reign of Mahendravarman I 571-630 C and Narasimhavarman I 630-668 C and dominated the Telugu and northern parts of the Tamil region for about 600 years until the end of the 9th century. Throughout their reign they were in constant conflict with both Chalukyas of Badami in the north and the Tamil kingdoms of Chola and Pandyas in the south, and Pallava were finally defeated by the Chola Aditya I in the 9th century CE. Pallavas are most noted for their patronage of architecture. Panamalai. The site is known as a location to various ancient structural temples built during the Pallava dynasty. One of them is Talagrasvara temple built by Narasimhavarman II. Question 4. Q. Who among the following laid the foundation of Rashtrakuta Empire? 2006. Amahavarsha I beat Dantidurga. C. Dhruva. D. Krishna I. Answer, B. Question 5. Q. Consider the following statements, 2003. 1. The Cholas defeated Pandya and Chera rulers and established the domination over peninsular India in the early medieval times. 2. The Cholas sent an expedition against Sailendra Empire of Southeast Asia and conquered some of the areas. Which of these statements is correct? A. Only 1. B. Only 2. C. Both 1 and 2. D. Neither 1 nor 2. Answer, C. Explanation. The southern end of the Indian peninsula situated south of the Krishna River was divided into 3 kingdoms: Chola, Pandya and Chera. Cholas. Region. It is situated to the northeast of the territory of the Pandyas. Capital. Early Cholas. Pumpuhar, Uriah, Tiruvara. Medieval Chola. Pajayarai, Tanjavur, Gangaikonda. Founder of the Chola Empire was Vijayalaya, who was at first a feudatory of the Pallavas. He captured Tanjore in 850. By the end of the 9th century, the Cholas had defeated both the Pallavas of Kanchi and weakened the Pandyas, bringing the southern Tamil country under their control. Age of Raja and Rajendra I. They were the greatest Chola rulers of all. Rajaraja destroyed the Chera navy at Trivandrum and attacked Quillan. He then conquered Madurai and captured the Pandyan king. He also invaded Sri Lanka and annexed its northern part to his empire. Rajendra I carried forward the annexationist policy of Rajaraja by completely overrunning the Pandya and Chera countries and including them in his empire. He also conquered some places in the Sailendra Empire. The Chola rulers also sent a number of embassies to China. The Chola rulers also fought consistently with the Chalukyas. The Chola Empire declined during the early part of the 13th century. The place of the Cholas was taken by the Pandyas and the Hoysalas in the south, and of the later Chalukyas by the Yadavas and the Kakatayas. Question 6. Q. Which one of the Chola kings conquered Ceylon? 2001. Aditya the first B. Rajaraja I C. Rajendra D. Vijayalaya answer B. Question 7. Q. The initial design and construction of which massive temple took place during the reign of Suryavarmana? 2006. At Sri Mariamman Temple B. Angkor Wat. C. Batu Caves Temple D. Kamakya Temple answer B. Explanation. Suryavarman II, posthumously named Paramavishnuloka, was a Khmer king of the Khmer Empire 1113 AD to 1145-1150 AD, and the builder of Angkor Wat, the largest religious monument in the world which he dedicated to the Hindu god Vishnu. His reign's monumental architecture, numerous military campaigns and restoration of strong government have led historians to rank Suryavarman as one of the empire's greatest kings. Question 8. Q. Consider the following statements. 2006. 1. The Ikshvaku rulers of southern India were antagonistic towards Buddhism. 2. The Pala rulers of eastern India were patrons of Buddhism. Which of the statements given above is correct? 1 only. B. 2 only. C. Both 1 and 2. D. Neither 1 nor 2 answer. B. Explanation. Ikshvaku dynasty. The Ikshvaku dynasty, in Puranic literature, was a dynasty founded by the legendary king Ikshvaku. The dynasty is also known as Suryavamsa, the solar dynasty. Lord Rama belonged to the Ikshvaku dynasty. 22 out of the 24 Jain Tirthankara belonged to this dynasty. According to the Buddhist texts, Prince Siddhartha belonged to this dynasty. Pala dynasty. The Pala Empire was an imperial power during the late classical period on the Indian subcontinent, which originated in the region of Bengal. They were followers of the Mahayana and Tantric schools of Buddhism. The empire was founded with the election of Gopala as the emperor of Gauda in 750 CE. The Pala stronghold was located in Bengal and Bihar, which included the major cities of Vikrampura, Pataliputra, Gauda, Mangia, Samapura, Ramvati, Verendra, Tamilipta and Jagadala. Miscellaneous. Question 1. Q. Match list I with list 2 and select the correct answer using the code given below. 1995, list 1, list 2. A. Vikram era 1, 3102 BC B. Sak era 2, 320 AD C. Gupta era 3, 78 AD Kali era 4.58 B, C5, 248 AD. A, B, C, D. A 2, 4, 5, 1 B, 1, 3, 2, 4 C, 4, 5, 2, 3 D, 4, 3, 2, 1 answer, D. Question 2. Q. The Badami rock inscription of Pilak Sinai is dated in the Saka year 465. If the same were to be dated in Vikrama Samvat, the year would be 1997. At 601 B, 300 C, 330 D, 407. Answer, A. Question 3. Q. According to ancient Indian cosmogonic ideas, the sequential order of the cycle of 4 eons yugas is 1996. At Dwapara, Krita, Treta and Kali B. Krita, Dwapara, Treta and Kali C. Krita, Treta, Dwapara and Kali D. Treta, Dwapara, Kali and Krita answer, C. Explanation. Time is a very important concept for many of the world religions, and for the Hindu tradition the concept of time is explained through yuga. The concepts of the yugas were first mentioned in the popular Mahabharata epic, as well as the Manusmriti. The cycle of time is divided up into 4 different sections. Each section is known as a yuga, or time period. The first yuga is known as the Krita Yuga and composes the first 4 units. Then there is the Treta Yuga, which lasts 3 units. The Dwapara Yuga, which lasts 2 units, and finally, the Kali Yuga, which is only made up of 1 unit. Question 4. Q. The term, Yavanapriya, mentioned in ancient Sanskrit texts denoted 1995. A. A fine variety of Indian muslin. B. Ivory. C. Damsels sent to the Greek court for dance performance. D. Pepper. Answer, D. Question 5. Q. In the context of the history of India, consider the following pairs, 2016, to description. 1. Erapati land revenue from which was set apart for the maintenance of the village tank. 2. Tanios villages donated to a single Brahmin or a group of Brahmins. 3. Gartikas colleges generally attached to the temples. Which of the pairs given above is correctly matched? At 1 and 2 B, 3 only C, 2 and 3 D, 1 and 3 answer, D. Question 6. Q. With reference to the guilds Trini of ancient India that played a very important role in the country's economy, which of the following statements is correct? 2012. 1. Every guild was registered with the central authority of the state and the king was the chief administrative authority on them. 2. The wages, rules of work, standards and prices were fixed by the guild. 3. The guild had judicial power over its own members. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. At 1 and 2 only B, 3 only. C. 2 and 3 only D, 1, 2 and 3 answer, D. Question 7. Q. Which of the following pairs are correctly matched? 1998. 1. Lothal, ancient dockyard. 2. Sarnath, first sermon of Buddha. 3. Rajgir, lion capital of Ashoka. 4. Nalanda, great seat of Buddhist learning. Select the correct answer using the codes given. At 1, 2, 3 and 4 B, 3 and 4. C. 1, 2 and 4 D, 1 and 2 answer, C. Explanation. The lion capital of Ashoka is a sculpture of 4 Asiatic lions standing back to back, on an elaborate base that includes other animals. A graphic representation of it was adopted as the official emblem of India in 1950. It was originally placed on the top of the Ashoka pillar at the important Buddhist site of Sarnath by the Emperor Ashoka, in about 250 BCE. The capital is carved out of a single block of polished sandstone and was always a separate piece from the column itself. It features 4 Asiatic lions standing back to back. They are mounted on an abacus with a frieze carrying sculptures in high relief of an elephant, a galloping horse, a bull, and a lion, separated by intervening spoke chariot wheels. The whole sits upon a bell-shaped lotus. Question 8. Q. What is the correct chronological order in which the following appeared in India? 1998. 1. Gold coins. 2. Punch-marked silver coins. 3. Iron plough. 4. Urban culture. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. At 3, 4, 1, 2B, 3, 4, 2, 1C, 4, 3, 1, 2D, 4, 3, 2, 1 answer. D. Question 9. Q. From the 3rd century AD when the Hun invasion ended the Roman Empire, the Indian merchants relied more and more on the 1999. A. African trade. B. West European trade. C. Southeast Asian trade. D. Middle Eastern trade. Answer. C. Do it yourself. Question 10. Q. Which one of the following was a corporation of merchants in ancient India? 1997. A. Chachavan Mangalam. B. Parashad. C. Ashtadigajadi Manobrahma.